I skipped my daughter's silly lizard gender reveal, and then I realized what I was really doing. I refused to go to my daughter's gender reveal party for her lizard, and now she says I made it clear I don't respect her life. 3 weeks ago, she texted, small get-together, cake, a few friends, and a gender reveal for her blue-tongue skink. I read it twice and typed back, I'm not coming to a party for a lizard. She replied right away and said it wasn't really about the lizard. It was a joke theme, her and her friends teasing the whole gender reveal trend. She said it was just an excuse to get everyone together, including me, because we hadn't seen each other in almost 3 months. I told her if that was true, she should have just called it a party. She said she did. I said, you wrote gender reveal. She said, Mom, it's a lizard. I said, exactly. Then she went quiet, and I assumed we were done. I told myself I was being sensible. It felt ridiculous. It felt strange to give a reptile a human name and call it your daughter. That weekend, I told my sister at dinner, and she laughed and said, kids these days. I laughed too, and I felt completely justified. 2 days later, my daughter's best friend texted me. No message, just a video. It was my daughter's apartment, and it looked like a party store had been dumped inside. Pink confetti was on the couch, the carpet, and even stuck to the ceiling fan. Everyone had a tiny party hat taped to their head. Her friends were laughing so hard, one of them was bent over, hands on knees. In the middle of the coffee table sat the lizard in a small box, calm as can be, blinking like it owned the place. My daughter picked it up, held it close, and smiled right at the camera. It wasn't a polite smile, it was a real one. I stopped scrolling. I hadn't seen her look that happy in a long time. I watched the video again, and then again. By the third time, I wasn't looking at the lizard anymore. I was watching my daughter. She had her friends around her. She had cake. She had this little creature she'd taken care of for 2 years, and she was celebrating something small and silly in a way that was completely her, and I hadn't been there. That's when the part I don't like admitting showed up. I have been hanging on to the idea of a granddaughter for years. My daughter is 23, and she decided a long time ago she isn't having kids. She's told me her reasons clearly, more than once. I always nodded and said I understood, but I still had this picture in my head of the life I thought she'd have, and I kept waiting for her to change her mind. So when she invited me to that party, a part of me didn't hear joke. I heard, this is what you get instead. She's not giving you a grandchild. She's throwing a party for a lizard. And instead of showing up for the daughter I actually have, I acted like she was doing something to me. I turned it into a judgment. I punished her for not being the version I wanted. I sat with that for 2 weeks, and it kept poking at me in the quiet moments. I almost texted her a joke to smooth it over, then deleted it. I watched that video in my kitchen while the kettle hissed and my face got hot. I kept checking my phone, hoping she'd call first and hating myself for that. On a Tuesday night, I finally called her. She answered on the second ring. I didn't have a speech ready. I just said, I saw the video. She said, yeah. I said, it looked like a really good night. She said, it was. My stomach dropped. I swallowed and said, I should have been there. There was a pause, and I could hear her breathing. Then she said, not yelling, just steady. Yeah, Mom, you really should have. I started to say the lizard thing was hard for me to understand, and she stopped me. Firm, but calm. She said, I know you think it's weird. I've known that for a long time. Then she said, but she isn't a replacement for a grandkid. She isn't a statement. She's just mine, and I love her. I went quiet. She kept going. I wanted you to come celebrate something I love. That's all it was. I wasn't trying to make a point. I was trying to see you. That line hit harder than any argument. She wasn't asking me to love the lizard. She was asking me to show up. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't add excuses. I didn't joke. I just said it again. I'm really sorry. She let out a small breath. I said, if you're okay with it, can I come over this weekend and meet her properly? Another pause. Then she said, Saturday at 2 o'clock. Don't be late. I grabbed a pen and wrote it down. I set a reminder on my phone right then.